result in a state jail felony, a $1,000 civil penalty, and may be grounds for a court to modify child custody orders. You are protected if you make a report in good faith.
The Texas Beach Hotline. May I have your first and last name?
It's Kiana Clark. You want me to repeat it? It's
Yes.
Kiana. Keyana.
To an adult.
Both me and my daughter.
All right, and let me get some information on you. What is...
You can't hear me now?
I can hear volume-wise, but something is after the quality is I can't really make it out.
You can't make it out now. Okay.
Yeah, like sometimes you get away from the phone, or it's just like, I don't know, it's just odd. One more time with her.
Yes, she has her own cell phone bill that I pay. Why would she need her cell phone bill? I mean, her cell phone?
Her number in case they need to call that home.
Okay. Do you need the dad's number or do you need my daughter's number? Because she's only 13.
Taking now, I do have her number listed at 13 for age, but let's go with her number and I'll put her dad's number under his name.
Okay, why would you need her number?
Sometimes they reach out to all cell phones because people don't answer one phone or the other.
Yeah, I think that we should get to the parents and the conspirators and the crimes.
All right, what's the name of the father? He is single, married, divorced.
He's married. He had a stroke and he's kind of like he's special needs now. So his wife takes care of everything. Her name is Denise. I told the judge that when I met with the judge briefly. He couldn't even talk at the court date. And she was talking for him and they allowed him to do it. Or her to do it. But here's her number.
American calling in today.
Well, it said on the hotline that making false statements at CPS was a crime, a state jail felony.
Mm-hmm.
Who investigates that? What's your name?
My name is Dalia, spelled D like David, A-L-I-A, and my employee ID is 5370.
Okay, so it states that that's a state jail felony. Who investigates that for people to pick up those charges?
So I'm not entirely sure. I don't think.
Can you escalate and find out because no one has been sure for years enforcing the crime that's going on? They have not. In fact, 20-something times I call and report the crime. No, if they would not investigate. Period. And CPS was playing games, and then eventually COVID shut everything down. So I just was trapped without resolutions. But 20-something times I called CPS multiple times. There's workers that covered for crimes, hung up in my face, said that they wouldn't do reports of child abuse. Then I go in person. They threatened the police. I went to the police and they detained me out of malice for reporting the abuse of my child. Another time they gave me a ticket. So are you covering for it?
I do know how to.
Are you covering for it? I would like to get hone on in how do they pick up charges for the crime, the state jail felony. So if you're CPS, I'd like for you to first figure out how those people can pick up the charges because there's a multitude of conspirators. So if I can hold on while you escalate for a resolution because there hasn't been one provided for years. And you're CPS, so you should know. So I'll wait.
I am the intake person.
Right, so I will wait. We need to know as a CPS worker, it's vital for you to know how people that make false statements at CPS, how they get their charges. That's something that's, really extreme that you should know. Now, if I'm calling a multitude of CPS workers that are committing crimes, I need to expose that. No one has a right to break into my phone and counterfeit every call I make. So I'm calling counterfeits for years. So I don't understand how 20-something reports were never investigated until I started recording my calls. But here's the thing I'm asking you right now. Please help me find out how that people get that state jail felony for making false charges, false statements to CPS. I'm asking that you find that out now. As at CPS, because they don't want me to know in person.
Place you on hold for a moment.
Okay.
So I can ask, and then I'll be back.
Okay, thank you.
Want to know?
Yes, I mean, because nothing is done. We need to know, because multiple people are racking up charges that are getting ignored. We need to know how to get them their charges. It's a criminal. And no one's racking up these charges. She witnessed my false arrest screaming in terror at age 8. She is 13. And no one has racked up these felony charges for years. So I'll wait. So to me, that's a pretty general question. They don't want to accept responsibility for the investigation. They're covering for crimes. So she don't want me to know that they're supposed to be investigating those false statements. But they have been doing this years with no consequences.
So much for your patience.
Okay.
I did just speak with a supervisor superior here, and the answer that they gave me on that, on who is it that people can bring charges against for making false statements, she said that it would be the local police department, and if they don't have jurisdiction, they'll tell you where it was that has jurisdiction.
The police said it was you. They told me that CPS investigates those false claims made to them. Why would you guys, both parties, or deny me investigation? That's part of my report today. We can get to my investigation. There's a multiple conspirators, and it's, not my fault that a multitude of parties, such an extreme amount of individuals want to conspire for interference with child custody crimes and child abuse. To deprive a person of a child of their right to their mother, the mother that they have known when her dad was mainly absent in her life. And for profit, to deprive that child of access to her mother, she's had breakdowns. And then when she had a breakdown, this same stepmom that the government is enforcing her to live with has threatened to put her out because she had a mental breakdown. The same party has threatened, lied, and told me she was missing, so I would be in emotional distress. She has called me and cursed me out, stating that I sent fire trucks over there just so I can be in emotional distress, and the police covered for it. She hung up in my face, tormented me, tortured me, would not let me speak to my daughter, wouldn't follow the custody agreement that the court temporarily said that I see her on the weekends. When she wouldn't follow it, the court covered for it, and then took my child custody rights away, would not even have access to my child. Multiple conspirators got caught in their lies and then disappeared from CPS records, and you guys cover for it too. These are felonies.
So I did check with someone about the supervisor who would have that. Now, we are failing in what we need to be doing, which you have raised those concerns. There's a hotline where they handle internal affairs for those departments, and you can complain about them not doing.
I did that, but right now, you guys have been playing games yours, and the child is in jeopardy, and forcing me to keep on calling the ombudsman instead of you guys reporting the crime and protecting my child as you've done years is criminal. I can't get anyone to rack up these felony charges they keep racking up. Do you know what the charge is for not reporting suspected child abuse? And your CPS? You don't know? Well, I'll give you time to Google it because it's a crime. You don't have a lot of education in your CPS. I don't know how you'll effectively protect children if you don't know what the crimes are to protect children when people don't protect them. So Google it. I'll wait on what the criminal crime is for not reporting suspected child abuse. I'll wait. You need to know what the charge is because we're not getting resolutions for years. Are you covering for it, ma'am?
Ma'am, I am not.
Okay, well, go ahead and Google because we need a resolution on how people can rack up these charges that they've earned. So go ahead, I'll hold. This is a child abuse hotline. I'm not quite sure if you're covering for it or you're actually trying to assist because I'm reporting crimes regarding my child that I have been reporting years with no consequences or no resolutions. So I'll wait because that's a charge and we need to figure out who. Are you denying me a service at this child abuse hotline? Are you referring me to somewhere else instead of doing your job?
I am able to do what you want. I don't know how to do those charges. I don't know how.
Well, you're not doing your job at referring that I'm reporting child abuse, and by you not doing anything regarding that report is criminal. That's what I want you to know. You don't have a right on the child abuse hotline to cover for crimes, as you've done years. And evidence of that is 20-something reports I made that were never investigated until I started recording my calls.
I do want to give you a number of bugs.
Ma'am, this is a child abuse hotline. I've already called a ombudsman and they won't call me back. I'm not getting resolutions. Is there a place that I can go in person? Is there a place I can go in person to resolve it? Because all people do on my phone is lie and cover for crimes. And my phone provider enforces it, which is also criminal. So is there anywhere I can go in person so people can break up these charges that they've earned? And actually get the consequences for their actions. This is CPS, ma'am. I don't know why you refer me to the police department and your child protective services. Why would you not do your job task and refer it over to law enforcement for something to get accomplished? Everywhere I go, they're passing the buck for years, including in person. So we need to concentrate on why you're committing a crime right now and covering for suspected child abuse and trying to deflect, send me to a ombudsman and the police department. And this is CPS. Which is a crime. It happens to be criminal.
I don't know how to do those charges, that we don't do those charges here. And I can't...
It said on the recording you're not being honest. It's a state jail felony to make false statements of CPS. I don't know why you lie to me. As well as a multitude of other operators and commit the crime and not reporting. How in the world can CPS not report suspected child abuse? This is a clear-cut sign of mental illness.
Report suspected child abuse, but for issues of custody, for issues of you telling me that people have made charges against false statements against you, I don't bring charges.
Making false statements of CPS is a state jail felony. In September 24, 2011, my daughter had bruises. Okay? CPS and the police covered for that. The police took pictures and they deflected, flipped it on me, and nothing was done. I didn't even know I was getting stopped then. I have no clue what's going on. Then February 2018, my daughter reported abuse that the stepmom sat on her and she couldn't breathe and whipped her with the middle part of the belt for eating candy. I communicated with stepmom. She did not want to talk, so I told her if she don't want to talk about it, my daughter was not coming back over there. So James Hastings came and he was involved in another scheme with multiple school teachers from Itasca that terrorized my child. I tried to report their abuse to CPS. They wouldn't take it, but they took these false claims for my daughter. The psychological abuse, they wouldn't let her use the bathroom. They had her wet herself. They harassed her ride, telling her ride not to give her a ride to school. And I didn't feel that she was safe. There was a lot of things going on, strange things in the community. They failed her out of malice. They called me, demeaned me and my child. She came home crying a lot, saying she felt all alone. They gave her, called me and degraded me and mistreated me over her trying to get her friend some gum. They had some kind of different things at school where they have gum. And her friend didn't get her gum, and she tried to get her friend the gum, and the teacher just made a big old fiasco from her getting gum. They just all kinds of abuse. They call me all the time. I was at this domestic violence location and they kept calling me when I was trying to get assistance. I said, I'm trying to flee for my life. Stop calling me. And they kept calling a whole school. Then they shut down on weird pretenses when I got a new job. I said that I have more kids. I have never seen teachers behave in the manner that you're behaving. Calling me, consistently harassing me, violating me and my child, and nothing was ever done. I called the superintendent. I called the principal, and they did nothing. So I had to go to the police. And now the police is covering for it, as well as CPS. So then that happened in February. James Hastings' scheme to try to get my custody rights taken away. When that fell through and it didn't work out right, they disappeared. The 255th District Court let them disappear. Then my daughter reported more abuse April of 2022, this year. The CPS and the police covered for it. They refused investigation. The stepmom has my daughter conspire with schemes so I can be in emotional distress. She's called me and invited me to games, knowing full blown well I would be really anxious and happy, and then played games and I never attended. She covered for crimes that happened to me. She said that at first she would have emotional breakdowns and then they hang up the phone while we were talking. And then I call the police. Then they let her talk, but not on webcam. Police cover for all of it. So my daughter has shown emotional distress and you're supposed to investigate that, but you guys keep covering for it. Every avenue I take to protect me as well as my child, the government enforces our abuse for profit and nothing has been done for years, which is a lot of racked up felonies with no consequences for unheard of crimes before COVID. I'm blacklisted from all domestic violence help. I can't call the real people. I've been defrauded out of funds. They will not give me a safe environment, violate my constitutional rights for housing, all kinds of other services down to the degree of simply purchasing food and water with no consequences. Social Security Administration has defrauded me out of funds. Attorney General, Health and Human Services, I can't get my stimulus. And they have schemed with my job to deprive me of even working for employment. I have just looked on my phone this morning. They play games with my job searches trying to look for it, simply looking for a phone. Even my monetization on YouTube is sabotaged with no consequences for years.
And you already reported, you said, both the ombudsman, the internal affairs.
Ombudsman won't call me back. But this is CPS. You're passing the buck. Ombudsman won't call me back. This is CPS. You have a responsibility to report it, which you guys have failed for years and only have corrupt people call me and play games and bully and violate. Every time I go to my provider, they enforce the crimes and call the police, which the government's behavior is insane, and it was before COVID, with no consequences for years for this level of insanity that I think is unheard of. But once again, we're deflecting. This is CPS, and you have a responsibility to protect me and my child as well, and you have failed for years and conspired with criminal activity to the degree of not even doing investigation for 20-something reports until I started recording my calls. Now you have concocted that the only way on this planet to enforce the criminal activity is that you cannot be done in person at a criminal activity. So CPS workers don't have to take responsibility for their crimes in person. Then they can blame it on the scammers that they have set up on my phone, which is still criminal. So now every CPS location deprives me of that report and investigation of services, which is still criminal. And the police department, judges everywhere I go conspire with the crime, which is still criminal. So I go to the FBI reporting because they know my children and my family mean a lot. If you have the power to abuse and you're psycho and sadistic, why not abuse it? So some kind of way, there's a multitude of parties racking up felonies, but there doesn't seem to be any consequences for all these racked up felonies. Only more enlisted conspirators. So I'm not quite sure why I've called CPS for years and they consistently keep covering up for crimes. And now in person, they have concocted out a criminal activity that you just cannot report it in person, which happens to be criminal. They don't have a choice to force me to speak with scammers on my phone and deprive me of the right to report it in person like they have done for years, which happens to be a crime. So each party I've called for years, they're never, I think that this is, it's a red flag that something's amiss. Because I've called for years, and I think to me that these events are pretty extreme. But every party I can talk to condones it.
Ms. Clark, this is, the things you're telling me, they're pretty big. I'm just telling you, I can only do simple intakes. And if these people have failed you in investigating. You're not, I'm not being heard. What is this that I called? You're taking the statewide intake.
Okay, so what is your responsibility with reporting someone reports crimes and amazing criminal activity? What's your job duty?
I refer you to law enforcement.
Okay, well then you need to get the law enforcement on the line. Call them now. Get law enforcement because they're depriving me of law enforcement as they've done years. Get law enforcement on the line. We need to escalate this. Because my daughter has been in an emotionally abusive environment for profit ever since she witnessed my false arrest and was screaming in terror at age 8. So go ahead and get them on the line. This is a crisis. It's a child that you guys have allowed to be in an emotionally abusive environment for years for profit.
I want to tell you one more time that the number to call if you're having issues.
No, ma'am. This is Child Protective Services. You're passing the buck. You're committing a crime right now. You are committing a crime. You're depriving me of doing a report of my child abuse as you've done years.
For this conversation that we're having is 76 85 14 69. I can't solve this issue for you. You're going to have to take it up with the other department. I'm so sorry.
Thank you for taking the time to participate in our
They
survey.
want to investigate.
You will now be asked a few short questions about the call you just completed. Please use the numbers on your telephone keypad to select your response.